NATO just proposed a defense budget that could bankrupt half of Europe. BRICS is quietly trying to control the future of artificial intelligence. And Germany's moving tanks to Lithuania. If you've read a history book, that should be concerning. Thankfully, they're on our side. I am Mandatory Fun Day. This is Worldwide Wednesday. Here's everything you need to know in a couple minutes. Welcome back to Worldwide Wednesday, the only place where NATO panic and BRICS plotting get equal screen time, and I casually narrate the collapse of global stability with a smile. Did I tell you guys also that BRICS is building their own version of Skynet? Stick around to the very end, because I'm breaking down India's latest BRICS move that has Washington sweating. Let's get into it. The US is pushing NATO nations to jack up their defense spending again. This time, the goal is a whopping 5% of GDP. That's more than double the original 2% guideline, which many countries already struggled to meet without, selling their national healthcare systems on eBay. The split would look like this: 3.5% towards traditional defense spending, tanks, jets, missiles, and 1.5% for logistics, infrastructure, and other security-related investments. The proposal has gained traction just weeks ahead of the NATO summit in The Hague, and Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is reportedly close to securing agreement. This move is clearly about showing unified resolve against Russia and China, but let's be honest, some NATO economies can't handle this hike. If implemented, expect budget reshuffles, political backlash, and probably a few resignations in parliaments where people still believe in diplomacy over dollars. Germany just created the 45th Panzer Brigade and permanently stationed it in Lithuania, marking its first long-term foreign deployment since World War II. Around 4,000 German troops will call Lithuania home, complete with tanks, support elements, and enough bratwurst to win a logistical war. This is part of NATO's plan to create credible forward deterrence on the alliance's eastern flank. Full operational capacity is expected by 2027. This is a massive shift in German military posture. It also signals to Russia, we're here and we're not waiting for Article 5 to catch up. Permanent basing changes the game from symbolic deterrence to real-time readiness. Do you think this move by Germany is going to make Russia less likely or more likely to start acting a fool? Let me know in the comments. If you love watching global alliances spiral into military overdrive, you'll love the merch we just dropped. We bring the goons tight. On the mandatoryfunday.com, we've got merchandise, we've got shirts, hats, mugs, sweaters. The only thing that we don't have is the approval of your parents. We also have a link on there so you can get regulation compliant merchandise as well. So go check that out and let me know what you think. Let's get back to the video. During a joint exercise called Jotun Strike, the US let Norway control American GBU 53/B glide bombs mid-flight. Yes, you heard that right. Norwegian forces had real-time control over US munitions launched by American aircraft. This wasn't just a press stunt. The test showed how Allied forces could share advanced weapons in fluid battlefield scenarios, using remote guidance and flexible AI-driven targeting. This is interoperability on steroids. It shows how NATO is evolving from alliance into a unified fighting system, but it also raises ethical and control questions. Who's accountable if one of these bombs hits the wrong target? NATO is planning to increase ground-based air defense systems in Europe by 500%. No, that's not a typo. They want a 5-fold increase in systems like Patriot, IRIS-T, and NASAMS. The reason is drones, cruise missiles, and that one Russian hobbyist who keeps accidentally flying things over NATO airspace. Expect massive orders, more multinational funding pools, and potentially longer production delays than an indie video game. Can we even say that about indie video games anymore, though? Look at what they've done with Grand Theft Auto. When are we getting the next one? Europe is finally taking air defense seriously, but it's playing catch-up. The war in Ukraine has shown just how vulnerable modern cities and infrastructure are to cheap aerial attacks. This shift could redefine the defense industrial base across the continent. My question for you is, should NATO nations invest more in high-tech defense systems or focus on diplomacy and de-escalation first? What do you think? I'm pretty sure I already know what the answer is going to be. Okay, so, don't yell at me in the comments, please. Russia just kicked off massive naval drills in the Baltic Sea involving 20-plus ships and supporting aircraft. These exercises focus on defending sea lanes, repelling enemy submarines, and reminding the world that, yes, the Russian Navy still floats. Sometimes we need a reminder. The message is clear. Don't think the Baltic is NATO Lake just yet. While the exercises are technically routine, the scale is bigger than usual. Much bigger. Much bigger. It's posturing, and it's time to counter NATO's growing presence in the region. With Finland and Sweden now fully aboard Team NATO, this area is heating up fast. At the upcoming BRICS summit in Rio, the bloc plans to unveil the world's first joint declaration on AI governance. While the West argues over copyright laws and robot ethics, BRICS is moving to set its own rules. Their goal is to create shared standards that prioritize multipolar control and reduce big tech dominance from the US. This is not just about AI. It's about sovereignty. BRICS BRICS sees AI as the next global battleground, not just in war, but in economics and ideology. Expect major implications for surveillance tech, cybersecurity, and even social credit style systems. Would you trust BRICS to write the global rulebook on AI, or does this feel like a digital power grab? Building on that momentum, Russia is now leading the formation of a BRICS AI alliance. The group would promote collaborative research and ethical frameworks based on Russia's own AI code of conduct. Russia's goal is clear: counterbalance the influence of Western-dominated frameworks like those pushed by the EU and Silicon Valley. This is a geopolitical soft power play. Instead of tanks and jets, Russia wants to lead with algorithms. If successful, this could give the bloc long-term influence over how data, identity, and machine learning shape global society. Russia is going to attack us with the algorithms. Can you imagine if they weaponized the dumb dances that people do online? People that post videos on the internet for strangers are the absolute worst. Here's the one we teased at the start. India's full throttle participation in the BRICS summit is making Washington very nervous. US officials are saying that the government's efforts to expand BRICS trade and government systems could undercut G7 influence and realign global trade. With India pushing digital payment systems, alternative trade routes, and expanded cooperation with Russia and China, some in Washington see this as a pivot. Despite India's deep defense ties with the US, India is playing both sides masterfully. It wants strategic autonomy, and BRICS gives it leverage. But if India drifts too far from the G7 orbit, expect economic pressure, diplomatic tension, and maybe even delays on defense tech transfers from the West. Can India keep playing both sides forever, or will it eventually have to choose a side? That's it for this week's Worldwide Wednesday. 8 big moves, one increasingly chaotic world. Again, if you enjoyed this, you can go to themandatoryfunday.com, buy some merch if you want to support me further, become a member of the website, and you get 20% off your purchases forever. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.